Welcome to Blockchain Unpacked. Blockchain Unpacked is a videocast and podcast series held in partnership between RegTech Associates and Crystal Blockchain. Join Jason Bowd and Marina Kaustova every month and explore the real-world impact of criminal activity beyond the blockchain. During the series, we will introduce you to a range of experts who will help analyze regulatory effectiveness and share the latest news, trends and predictions in a digestible format to keep you in the know.
Hi, I'm Jason Bowd, CEO of RegTech Associates. Welcome to Blockchain Unpacked. This show features expert insights from prominent leaders in the blockchain, regulatory and technology industries. And I'm delighted to once again be co-hosting the show with Marina Kaustova, the CEO of Crystal Blockchain. Marina and I will kick off by covering some of the developments in the Web3 space that caught our eye in the past 3 weeks. We'll then be joined by not one, but two special guests. We've got Natasha Powell, the Chief Compliance Officer, and Kym Routledge, the Head of Financial Crime at BCB Group. And we're going to dig into some of the topics that they find interesting and also provide insight for you you'll struggle to find anywhere else in the industry. So, without further ado, Marina, it's great to see you again, twice in 1 week. How are you doing and what's going on?
Very well, I'm doing very well. Thank you, Jason. And it was super good to catch up with you last week at Money 2020. So yeah, well, we did have a super eventful month in the land of digital assets. The landscape is buzzing with a lot of notable events. And of course, you know, what's on the top of everyone's mind at this moment are the elephants in the room, like Binance and Coinbase, two of the world's largest crypto exchanges. And it's kind of surprising turn of events. We see both of these behemoths that are coming under the gaze of Securities and Exchanges Commission in the United States. So the Securities Commission is alleging that both of these exchanges offered unregistered securities within the United States. And each company is right now facing accusations that are pertaining to different aspects of their business. So, well, we now should remember that, you know, all these are accusations, all right? And, you know, one is innocent until proven guilty. So the courts are doing their work and there will be an ultimate decider of who's wrong and who's right in this particular situation. So we see Coinbase generally seen as, you know, performing by the rules, and Binance has a reputation of being a maverick and then becoming more regulatory compliant. So we'll see again how this narrative is going to change. And second important point, right now, I'm looking at, you know, the global situation, global landscape. We see the crypto market as a global game too. So we see that United States, of course, is a significant player, but it's not the only one participant there. And of course, what I see right now happening literally accelerates crypto adoption in the other parts of the world. So yeah, that was super interesting to observe, you know, this turn of events while we were at Money 2020. It was a significant event focused on fintech in general, and I've been attending that for many years, not only in Amsterdam, but also in Vegas. And, you know, while there were less companies present there from crypto space than, you know, for example, last year, I observed a sense of optimism this year, actually fueled by regulatory strides, you know, like MiCA and a growth surge in MENA and APAC region. So I had many conversations with the representatives of national banks, and they were particularly enlightening to me. So I can see that there is a collective scramble happening right now to educate all these supervisory authorities about the digital assets in general. So they need to achieve aligned and unanimous, you know, action when MiCA will be in enforced state. So that requires everyone to be on the same page about what digital assets are and how to deal with them and how you get information about them. So I think actually these initiatives absolutely won't wrap up by the time MiCA becomes enforceable. However, there is a clear sense of urgency that is quite palpable, and I expect a particular, you know, parts of the markets emerging just to serve these huge demand coming from the supervisory authorities. And this is my most important, you know, outcome from Money 2020 of last week. What's yours?
Oh, wow. Yeah, really good points. I really agree with you on the sense of optimism. I think first time for me at Money 2020, I thought it was amazing, right? I met so many people, had so many great conversations. And, you know, you might think, I might have thought that fintech was dominated by payments, but the richness and diverse nature of the conversations left me thinking actually that's far from about payments, right? There's so much more clearly in fintech, but also so much optimism. I spoke to quite a few founders looking for, speaking about funding, and it's been a difficult landscape over the past sort of year maybe, but actually quite a lot of optimism in terms of how companies are being funded. The companies are doing the right thing, and in my opinion, I would say this: if you're helping in the regulatory nature of crypto or most industries, and you've got a technology products, now's a good time, right? Now's a good time to be building. Now's a good time to investing. And we've talked about it before, Marina, where the lack of regulatory certainty is not a bad thing, right? It's a very positive thing. The technology to help investigators, financial crime professionals, making a safer crypto industry, 100% a good thing. So I'm only hopeful that optimism goes further than just that conference center, but out into the wider industry.
That is
true. And Marina, you're running alongside doing all this, running the Crystal team, creating products. What else has been going on at Crystal over the past month or so?
Yeah, well, we are building, like you said, and for us, this uncertainty on the market, which is translating to, less volumes and so on, it is the time for us to make big bets on, what's going to happen with the industry a year ago, because market moves in cycles, and we definitely are, internally being big believers in the technology, anticipating the next cycle wherever it comes. Obviously, it's like long, until that comes, but it nevertheless will come. So we are preparing for that, and last month was particularly intense for our development team because we have published a huge update to Crystal. So Crystal is right now supporting a whopping of 335 blockchains, which we are covering and analyzing in real time, including newer ones, which were literally created just recently, in the middle of crypto winter. And I'm also a big believer that the best technology and the best projects are launched in the mid of crisis. So we have to support not only the old ones but also the new projects. And something that also we've been busy with is the new update to the multi-chain visualizations. So it's really a game changer for our product, and particularly for investigators and anti-fraud departments of various financial institutions who now can visualize various blockchains on the same, unique canvas. So that eliminates your need to create, separate graphs for blockchain and finding connections between them. It all sits on the same field for you if you are observing an activity of particular organization, involving multiple assets. So that's super big update for us. I don't think anything bigger than that has been happening to Crystal in the last couple of quarters. It definitely a huge step for us. So we are actually expecting that, again, with the latest changes on the market, we're going to be serving, the needs of various financial institutions located in various territories, and thus following, different projects so that they are betting on as well.
And Marina, to give us a sense of, that sounds like a huge amount of work from your product team. So kudos to that. How long have you guys and girls been working on that? What's the sort of, is that 6 months, a year's worth of work? What's going
something
on?
Like that. Yeah. So we're usually launching like a quick updates, with the small features quite frequently, maybe like once a month, once a 6 weeks or something like that. But these big kind of updates, they have been prepared for quite a long, time. So a lot of work has been put into that, and our old customers, existing customers, already appreciating that a lot. And for those who are interested in like deeper dive on all these new functionality, and sometimes you won't find this kind of functionality anywhere else, our listeners can mark the calendars for a webinar that we're having on June 27th. So then we'll be discussing, how these updates are revolutionizing the way you've been running, your investigations in crypto world, or ramping up your understanding about, what's going on with your customers or with your particular assets or with your counterparties. So quite a lot. What about you, Jason? What's going on in your world and with the RegTech associates?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, May and the start of June have been fast and furious, but a lot of fun. I mean, we've already talked about Money 2020. I had an absolute blast there. But earlier in the month, late May, early June, excuse me, I had the privilege of meeting a delegation from the Central Bank of Jordan, and they wanted to talk about fintech and primarily with me, RegTech innovation. And going back sort of 6 or 7 years, we'd worked with the Financial Conduct Authority in the UK. And since then, I've worked with a lot of different people around the world. And there's this sense of, a real opportunity around for economies, for industry around having technology to help with regulation as more and more industries get regulated. So it's really interesting to sit down and talk with them and what's worked well, how different regulators have potentially moved ahead and leapfrogged what the early movers were doing. And I love that part of my role, to be able to sit down and speak with sort of policymakers and central bankers in terms of what the future may hold. And one of the projects that we've been looking at, a couple of interesting projects over the last couple of months, we've been looking at the success of industry utilities around the world and going quite deep into those aligned with financial crime. So we've looked at, in particular, the use case of monitoring transactions. And the main premise behind a utility is that you can combine data from multiple institutions and then start to use machine learning models to uncover the network and the patterns of use across multiple institutions. It's a fairly well understood narrative, I think, that criminals don't operate in silos, but banks and financial institutions do. So this idea of building, networks of data and models that are trained on those networks of data, really fascinating. And so we've been looking a little bit at that. But I've also come across, which I think, we've at least spoken about before, this idea of combining data may be great from a security, a transparency perspective, or fighting financial crime. And no one will disagree that that's a good thing, right? But actually, one of the risks and dangers that come with combining these huge data sets is that is there a concern around privacy? And we're starting to see this battle, right? This tug of war between organizations that want to bring together lots of data to fight crime, very noble, and organizations that want to protect privacy of citizens. And it's going to be fascinating to see that in the past 6 months, there's been a European Court of Justice ruling about beneficial ownership data in Europe. And there's now some new Chinese regulations similar to GDPR coming in. So, really fascinating to see what happens in that space.
Yeah, that's definitely a space that's going to be buzzing with activity in the upcoming years, I think, because to my opinion, the solution is heavily related also to technological capacity of the solution that will be selected. It really makes me think, how these efforts of people who are trying to preserve the privacy in crypto, but nevertheless share all required details with the counterparty, can be actually rerouted to the need of, this particular area of industry. But I think we're yet to see, that efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and one of the ways that I guess the regulations are starting to interact with this problem of privacy and transparency is potentially around travel rule regulations, right? Where you're starting to need to pass more information and exchange more information between the counterparties, as you said. So, I mean, travel rule and how that impacts isn't something we've deep dived on the show. So maybe that's a topic of worthy note in the future. Just moving on slightly, because I'm keen, to get our guests on pretty soon. But in terms of broader research, we've been thinking a lot more about the subject of compliance culture, and I think that's topical for our guests. And this topic transcends the RegTech industry and spans many areas of technology and business. But I think it's particularly contentious as it relates to the rise of artificial intelligence. And we've been doing some work in the electronic communication surveillance space. So in most markets now, if you're regulated, you have to be monitored and supervised in terms of the communications you have with clients. And it would seem most AI represents a really good opportunity to monitor that in a much more efficient way for most firms. But also brings into light, of course, this privacy challenge. If you're monitoring employees, if you monitor customer conversations with employees, you've got that privacy issue to overcome alongside the surveillance issue. And it's it's far more of a challenge when you have to protect consumers if you're in some B2C business, because you have consumer regulations and consumer duty as an example. And if it wasn't already complicated enough, I think you'd have to be hiding in a cave somewhere to not see the whole discussion around AI regulations and how quickly AI is advancing. So the implementation of AI regulations is not going to be straightforward. Supervisors have already been met with some criticism relating to the severity of the upcoming proposals, with critics arguing that it might stifle innovation across AI when you start to regulate the industry. I guess our perspective is, look, the regulations are obviously really important, but culture is as important, right? Actually having organizations doing the right thing, building the right models, using the right data sets that don't have biased data in them to build the right models is as important as the regulations. So be really fascinating to get a bit of a deep dive on culture as our guests come on. But what do you think about that topic, Marina?
Well, yeah, it's a great topic, and again, from our perspective, what we see, as if it wasn't complicated, already, there of course are fraudsters also trying to utilize, AI to their benefit and running super fast there, right? So they are evolving their methods. They are generating videos, photography that is duping innocence, right? So, and not to mention, the particular surge in the activity of the fraudsters who were generating white papers again using AI when ChatGPT was, very popular around the world. It is still, but when just emerged, we saw a particular increase in these kind of things. So yeah, I think we're yet to see also them, moving super fast. And again, we see the same race, between between regulators and security measures that need to be taken to protect people from whatever happens. And yeah, I think it's going to be definitely an interesting timeline to be in.
Yeah, I mean, your point around the sort of almost like the technology arms race. I met a few identity verification companies out at Money 2020, and it's a space that seems to be well developed, right? The technology's been around for a number of years. You open a bank account or any type of account, they're generally using some facial recognition, liveness detection type technology, but it seems like the technology is just getting more and more complex to actually counter the fraudster cases that you just touched on there, Marina.
No, yeah, that is true. It's a race, the same race as we are running, in Crystal. Yeah, trying to understand and prevent, bad incidents before they happen, not just to deal with the consequences. But yeah, also I heard an interesting opinion when I was traveling to the United States last month, is that there was so much interest also to cryptocurrencies in the early days because they weren't regulated, and now we have a huge new space which is also not yet regulated, and it attracts all these people who are searching for high risk, high return. So AI pre-regulated days is of course this diversity of developments. It actually attracts a lot of people, a lot of bright minds, a lot of investors. So nice to see them all thinking about how they battle fraud.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know about you, I think maybe we move on and get our guests joining. What do you think? Yeah, let's do it. So I'm pretty excited because it's a perfect time to bring in this week's guest. Well, actually, it's guests, right? We have two guests, both from BCB Group. So if I can ask them to join, I'll introduce them while they join. So Natasha Powell, or TASH for short, is formerly a European regulatory policy expert at the FCA, which, if you don't know, was the precursor to the FCA. Natasha went on to spend 10 years in senior compliance roles in RBS, Schroders, and Barclays Capital. and Natasha, responsible for managing the company's global compliance and financial crime prevention and governance framework. Welcome, Natasha.
Hey guys, nice to be here.
And joining her is Kym. So Kym joined BCB in August 22, heads up financial crime after holding the same position in an authorized UK lending platform. Kym left to expand her experience in crypto and has over 20 years experience in TradFi, including times at HSBC, Bank of Scotland, as well as UK FinTech. And Kym is responsible for leading a team of financial crime SMEs and analysts who develop and operate the firm's money laundering and terrorist financing control framework. So, Kym, welcome.
Hi.
So, BCB Group, a leading crypto-dedicated payment service provider serving many of the industry's largest clients, including Bitstamp, Crypto.com, Fireblocks, Kraken, and many more. BCB Group provides payment services in over 30 currencies, FX, cryptocurrency liquidity, digital asset custody, and many other things. BLINC is BCB's free instant settlement networks for the BCB client ecosystem. So again, welcome, Marina. Straight over to you. First questions. Let's go.
Yeah, sure, of course. Tash, Kym, welcome. It's super great to have you with us. And the first time we're having two guests. So yeah, first and foremost, Tash, how are you doing and what's going on in your world the past couple of weeks?
Hey guys, really great to be here. Thank you for that introduction. Jason, you described what BCB do down to a T. I'm just going to pick you up on one phonetic. We just call it blink. So BLINC, blink, short and sweet.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I come from a world of acronym, Tasha. So I'm not trying. Do I say blink? I should have checked with you, but thank you.
We like to keep it straightforward. It's been a really crazy few weeks, actually. And I think both Kym and I have been on the road and spreading the compliance mantra across a number of jurisdictions, internally and externally. Something that we both believe in at a foundational level is that compliance shouldn't be locked in a box. And sort of touching on the cultural point that you raised, for to set the right compliance culture within a firm, you need to have a strong voice coming from your compliance team. And Kym and I, for BCB, represent that very strong voice. We are the Thelma and Louise of financial crime for BCB, and they have the burden of hearing our views on almost every angle of our business, and we have the opportunity to do so. In the last couple of weeks specifically, I have been, I was in Dublin for the ACAMS conference, which was a really great conference. It was so nice to be in an environment full of like-minded individuals. We weren't there necessarily to sell to each other. We weren't trying to get business. We were trying to pool ideas, pool experience, and make sure that we can stay ahead of, or at least try to stay ahead of, those fraudsters, those money launderers, those bad actors out there who we know are leveraging the same technology, have inside information, are working different angles. And the more that the industry and the financial crime prevention side can come together and amass their giant brain cells, the more opportunity we have to stay on the front foot. After that, I was traveling with my banking colleagues within BCB to Europe. I was in both Zurich and Liechtenstein talking to our banking partners. And one of the key things for BCB's success is that we have and can maintain a strong network of banking partners for our business. So if we are able to convince our banking partners of the strength of our AML framework, of the strength of our compliance regime, then it makes doing business with them a whole lot easier, and it provides better services for our customers. And then finally, of course, I was in Amsterdam last week for Money 2020, which was an absolute whirlwind and a real joy. And what I would say about the experience, because it was my first time too, was, it was a whole lot more than just payments. It was great to see so many of our clients and potential clients there. And it was incredible to have access to the whole pool of RegTech providers that were there. And what I would encourage anyone listening to do, if you're a compliance officer within within the payments or banking space is to get yourself to Money 2020. Often the compliance team are overlooked in those forums. It's all about the commercial team or the sales team or the products team going out there and trying to sell the business. Well, actually, again, the more the compliance guys can get in on that and have a voice at those conferences, the easier business comes, because we're lining up our clients with our partners, with our service providers, with our thought leaders, and good things happen. So it was a great experience. Kym, you've also been on the road, my friend.
I have. Do you know what? I'm going to quote Jason from earlier. The last few weeks for me have actually been fast and furious. To put that into context, I touched down in Heathrow just a couple of hours ago. So to say I'm feeling fresh because it was an 11.5-hour flight from Johannesburg, where I'd been out there mixing with an immense pool of talent, which is our first line and our second line defence out in Johannesburg. We've actually, as a financial crime unit, we've actually got a team out in India as well. Thankfully, the last 2 weeks I've not been visiting them because I would be severely jet lagged. But it was a really great opportunity to actually spend some time with them, to make sure that the contingency for BCB is in place. So having the beautiful global spread team that we do, so the UK, Johannesburg and Mumbai, it means that for some of our financial crime framework, we can actually offer 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, transaction monitoring, for example, which is unique and it's brilliant. And that, for our clients, they need fast-paced answers, and we're able to give that to them. Prior to Johannesburg and being jet-lagged, I was like Tash in Dublin, which was great. I don't need to repeat what Tash has said there. The other things that I've been doing recently is actually looking into our screening providers. So, whether you're happy with your provider or not, RegTech moves at such a fast pace. It would be stupid to not consider it and to look to see what alternatives are out there. We've got to simply stay on top of our game. We've got to safeguard our clients. We've got to safeguard our firm. And, to be honest, I like to keep an eye on the cost as well. And when there's so many opportunities out there, you've just got to constantly look. So we are, BCB as a firm, we're constantly reviewing our RegTech. That's been the last 2 weeks.
Wow. I feel like I'm positively sloth-like in my travels compared to you three, all around the world. Amazing. I'm really interested in here. I mean, I heard really, really good things from clients, colleagues, friends for ACAMS Europe as well. And even though my company's called RegTech Associates, we generally stay away from any events with the name RegTech in them and make sure we attend the places where people are really talking about the financial crime problems. FFECon, I think, was super good a couple of weeks back in London. One Line of Defense, pretty good conferences. So I hear great things about ACAMS as well. It's good to have that validation from both of you.
Yeah.
Tash, let's dive into a little bit more about your journey. You joined BCB in May 22. I think at the point of a pretty decent fundraising round. One of the largest Series A rounds raised from companies working in the UK blockchain industry. So what's the journey been like, going from traditional finance into crypto into this fast growing business? How's it been?
So I've been in compliance now for, showing my age, I guess coming up to 20 years. And what you learn in TradFi is that you're only as good as your framework is solid. And as I've moved through my career, and I've worked, as you said, in various different aspects of financial crime and financial services and regulatory control frameworks. So I have done investment banking, I've done private banking, I've done corporate banking, I've done buy side, sell side, I've done retail. And for me, taking this step into crypto and largely the unknown for me, I'm not a crypto compliance expert, or I certainly wasn't in January 2022, was a leap of faith. But what I learned really, really quickly as soon as I stepped inside BCB is it's not just TradFi that's only good as the strength of its framework. It's its crypto digital asset space as well. And so what Kym and I have been able to do is bring a traditional finance framework into this space. And the reason that is so vital is because our regulators come from traditional finance. Our banking partners come from traditional finance. That's what they understand, and that's what they expect to see. So all I've been responsible for doing in this firm is taking the cool tech, the cool experience, the themes, the deliverables, and repositioning them in a way that I can translate to those people who we rely on. It has been an incredible journey. The reason I joined this firm is because it leads with a compliance first mindset. Oliver Tonkin is our GC and one of our co-founders. When he set up this business, he was really, really clear. It needed to meet high regulatory standards. And as a consequence, we've never shied away from addressing exactly what the highest standard of the market is. Our regulatory jurisdictions at the moment are UK and Switzerland. We're going through the licensing process in France to be an EMI and a DASP. So we're not taking any backdoors. We're not taking any shortcuts. We see the regulation, we value the regulation, and we're leaning into the regulation. We want, as it were, a blue tick for meeting a high standard of transparency and compliance that our banking partners and our clients can rely on. So if people see our name attached to a deal, they know that they can take comfort in the fact that we're doing it properly. We also have a key role, I believe, in helping our clients who are often startups or scale-ups and who are often new to the traditional finance space come along that journey. And Kym can talk to you about some of the ways that we do that through our KYC and onboarding processes. But I'm happy to say that the journey from TradFi to crypto, whilst it's been liberating in terms of the talent and the mindsets that I've encountered, has been eerily familiar from a compliance perspective as to what I need to deliver and how. It takes a lot of balls to run the financial crime unit within a heavily regulated payments firms whose customers are crypto orientated, because we have to be really, really sure that we have not only met the standards, but we understand where the financial crimes risk sits within our customers. We can understand the strength of their controls that they're using to mitigate those financial crime risks, and that we can keep on top of the evolving landscape of their business, the regulatory framework, bad actors out there, to maintain the strength of that framework. So are Kym and I taskmasters? Yes, absolutely. But that's how I sleep at night, and it's how the founders of this firm are able to sleep at night. So I am not apologetic for it.
So you're not going to be like Elon Musk and giving a blue tick away for $6.99 a month. It's significantly harder than that, right?
No, it is harder, but you know what we do? We work in a collegiate way. And as I said, we have a role in bringing the industry up along on our journey with us. And if we can translate those requirements into an easily understandable and easily to deliver package, and we do that largely through the help of our RegTech partners, then we hope we are making the somewhat insurmountable mountain of, international financial crime requirements more easy to scale.
I just wanted to say that I deeply respect the amazing specialists that are, making their name in some parallel industry, and then they're deciding to jump into crypto and bring all their knowledge and experience and, improving the crypto just by joining and just by bringing all this, order and understanding to these pretty chaotic space, and I'm seeing, these people doing these decisions since 2015 when I myself did, such a jump, and particularly for compliance, I know that it's not an easy task. And maybe I have like a short question for you. I see a lot of compliance officers also trying to figure out what is digital assets, where are digital assets, how to deal with them and all of that. And they see this journey of educating themselves as a quite, heavy task. What's your highlight, or which is one thing the most important to keep in mind for a TradFi, compliance representative and converting themselves to crypto?
To me, it's simple. It's about knowing the audience, knowing your customer. So it doesn't matter what you're dealing with, what products you're dealing with. If you don't know your clients, you don't understand why they want a relationship with you, and you don't understand your product offering, then how do you mitigate any risk for your firm? So simply know your client, ask the right questions. If you're unsure on the answers that you've got from them, dig deeper. What we do at BCB is we have an intensive onboarding journey. Now, we try to make that as user-friendly for the client, but we dive deep. You know, we ask to see their transaction monitoring policies. We want to see their AML policies. Not only that, but we want to see sample packs of their KYC, and we will test it, right? We go to town on it. We will analyze the information that we give, and we will test it ourselves. Are they just writing down what they think we want to read? Or actually, do they have these controls in place? Because we do see both. We do see a lot. It's easy nowadays. We can all go onto Mr. Google and we can download an AML policy which looks convincing and then send that off to a provider. But actually, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in, are they doing what they say they do? And that's the bit that we have to do. At BCB, we know our customers from the moment they're a prospect with us. So our commercial team do a lot of work with them. They screen them before they even get into our first line, which conduct the KYC and the KYB. It then goes from them to the financial crime team, who look at everything. They'll go back. They may interview the clients. They may ask for specific information. We then decide whether we're going to onboard that client or not. If we onboard that client, it doesn't stop there. The journey only begins. We're constantly monitoring them. We're constantly screening them. We're constantly testing. A lot of it we'll do in the background, and the client will never know about it. But it's not something that we're going to relinquish. And we can't relinquish doing that, because when we do, that's when things will fall down for us. That is when we will not understand our client. And that, to me, is, in the purest of form, is what we need to do. You've got to know your client. You need to know the ins and outs of your client.
I agree with that, Kym. I think that certainly helps the transition from TradFi over to the digital asset space, because we're at the coal face of what those client relationships are and what they look like. I think the other thing for me is Kym and I are really fortunate. We work with a team of really bright young things.
Super brains.
They are experts in crypto assets, crypto technology, digital space, DeFi. And a lot of this, again, comes down to the culture of the firm that you're at. But Kym and I are both quite humble people. We'll put our hands up and say, we don't know this. We don't quite understand what's going on here. Can you spend some time unpacking that for us? And again, if you land as a compliance officer, and if you land in a space where people are generous with their knowledge, and you are not embarrassed to ask questions and to challenge and to keep going back and back and back, that roller coaster that which you describe of moving into a new space and how do you get comfortable with it, the culture of the firm helps you get comfortable with it, because no question is a stupid question, and people at our firm have always got time to help each other. It's been great.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge that I found, and Tash, I don't know if you're the same, but is actually just keeping up to date with the product offerings. And the reason I say that is no 2 days at BCB and in the crypto space are the same. So, you know, it's such an inventive, forward-thinking space. We're coming across clients that have got offerings that we've never seen before. And the biggest task for us is looking to see, well, actually, have we got a product that already fits what they want to do? Can we create something? We're a very agile firm. You know, we want this to be successful for our clients as well as ourselves. So we're constantly, you know, have we got a product that we can give them? If we have got a product that we give them, well, is Tash happy? And can I make it fit our control? You know, what controls can we put in place to mitigate that risk to the firm? That's the biggest challenge, because we're constantly evolving. We're constantly learning every single day. But it's good, and we enjoy it, and we're still here.
What I was going to say was like Marina added a little bit earlier. I think this move of highly qualified people that have the right attitude and understand that they don't know everything, and that they have a really good framework in traditional finance, but that, you know, will need to be adapted as it moves into this highly innovative space. 2 or 3 years ago, I pretty much ignored the crypto industry. And then what happened is, in my network, I saw a number of these people, really senior people, taking these moves. And I thought this is now's the time, right? Now's the time to really understand this, because these people are going into an industry that, let's be honest, was becoming a bit toxic, right? And they are moving in there because they realize that they can improve this, and the industry is right now for it to be a safer place for investors, a better place for businesses to grow. So, you know, having, like Marina said, having you two on the show is like testament to that movement I've seen on a wider basis.
I think that's a really interesting point you make. So why have heavyweights started to move across? Partly because it's driven by the investors. So BCB had a cracking Series A. Yep. One of the tenets of that is that we made sure that our control framework kept pace with the scale of the firm. How do you do that? You have to invest in your compliance team. You have to invest in your compliance reg technology. And so actually firms that were aggressive and successful in their initial sort of seeding phase, done really, really well, they can't just keep going on that trajectory without investing in this space too. So
I'm going to move on, and you've touched on it a little bit already, Kym, about the role that technology vendors have, you know, in your day-to-day role. But perhaps you can, you know, talk a little bit more about, you know, how really do financial crime and blockchain tech companies, you know, how do they really help you achieve on that framework? And, you know, come on, surely you can do this with spreadsheets. TradFi has been doing it with spreadsheets for the last 20 years. It's easy, right? Come on.
No, we're not going to do it on spreadsheets. Absolutely not. RegTech, how does it help? Well, basically it's a partnership, if I'm honest. So when we look at RegTech providers, it's really important that we find somebody that is going to work alongside us. So I don't look for an offering that's just off the shelf. It's got to fit us. We are, like I said, we're agile, we're moving, we're fast paced. So to get somebody that can tailor what they've got to our needs, then that is what we're looking for. We simply couldn't, on a spreadsheet, screen all our transactions. You know, it's not feasible. It doesn't work. We simply couldn't screen all of our clients and their, you know, the end users of the transactions. We couldn't do that. There's not enough time in the day. In order for us to have the quality and the standards of the control framework that we have in place, we rely on RegTech, because if we didn't have RegTech in place, we would need hundreds of FTE. And, you know, to Tasha's point about investors, you know, the pockets are deep, or they have been for us. They're not going to be that deep. No one's going to be that deep. Tasha, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
No, I think, and this is what I was explaining in Amsterdam last week, is when we look at RegTech, we look at it through two lenses. We look at it through what's right for BCB, i.e. what do we need for our KYB client base? You know, we have a limited portfolio of customers, therefore we haven't got the need to have a mass screening tool. We need something that's very specific and very honed to the risks that our business run. But if some of our clients are, let's say, crypto exchanges, they're onboarding retail customers at a much, much higher volume. So what RegTech is appropriate for them? So when I'm in a forum like Money 2020, I have the opportunity to really see the different range of solutions out there. So I can do a sense check on what's appropriate for us and what things I'm happy to either sign off on, recommend, or put in front of our customers when they're thinking of growing and expanding their compliance framework as well. Because no one solution, no matter how good it is necessarily going to be appropriate for each different strata of this sector. Now, I think the other thing that makes RegTech in the crypto space just so vital is companies like Crystal and the increased transparency that is like a gift from the gods. It enables us to do things we could never do in TradFi. You would never be able to understand the payment trail in TradFi in the way that you can in crypto. So coming into this and beginning to understand and get under the skin of the different blockchain analysis tools has been an absolute joy. And I think that the more it can be incorporated in, and the more that we have evidence that our clients really understand what they're looking at when they use these tools, and I think that the better. And I think to do that, it's the Crystals of this world that facilitate that, because they're making the offering more user-friendly. When you look back at early blockchain analysis tools, they were there for the investigators and the investigators only. They were very, very complex to unpick and to follow through. As we've seen in some of the work that Kym and I have done over the last 12 months looking at different vendors on the market, we see that actually it's not that complicated, and you can program them to your rule sets in a way that means that it's accessible by any of the compliance analysts, not just the specialists.
That's really a really interesting insight. I like to think about almost the lineage and the age of some technology platforms around, and you know, we all know how quickly it moves, right? And some of the early stage blockchain analytics companies are 10 years old, right? I mean, if that's a 10-year-old technology base, that's pretty old technology. I'm not saying they are, but you know, there's within a sector of blockchain analytics, and I like that, a gift from the gods. You should turn that into your marketing strapline, Marina. You get this variation of sophistication, ease of use, you know, across the board, really, with all the players in this space.
Yeah.
I got a question for you in the light of what we have been discussing at the very beginning of this episode is about the regulatory changes and, you know, whatever goes on the market. The space is very evolving, very dynamic, and you as a compliance team should be thinking also about what happens next. Like, what part of your job is like, you know, thinking about scenarios of that development, how that would affect the business? Is it coming from your team, you know, this knowledge and this guidance for the rest of the team?
Yeah, so we see it, you know, across different entities and companies. We see it housed in different places. In some places, it's the government affairs teams. In some places, it's the products team. In some places, the commercial team. But for us, it does sit across our team and across the strategy team. So we identify the strategy team will identify which jurisdictions that we want to go into and what the licensing requirements are for those jurisdictions. And then Kym and I will put our heads together and say, well, how can we deliver against those licensing requirements? How can we actually enable our firm to grow its business and to grow its footprint? And that's the really cool stuff. That's compliance being involved as a business enabler, not just a business blocker. And having being involved in sort of industry forums, being involved in a compliance network really enables us to, you know, share mutual ideas and problems and opportunities and threats and challenges in that space and do it. But, you know, as MiCA looms on our doorstep, again, we look at it because within our business, we have both a crypto liquidity OTC trading desk and the payments business who supports crypto asset service providers. We look at it from two angles. What do we ourselves need to do to be MiCA compliant? And that is something that Kym and I and the rest of my compliance team will grapple with. And also, how do we ensure that our clients are going to be able to be MiCA compliant? Because we won't be able to do business with them if they are not. And so it's that hand-holding that I talked about bringing other players in this sector along with us and making sure that we can all meet the standards. And we talk about it proudly, and we talk about it with enthusiasm, and we talk about it as it is a good thing. I see increased regulation is nothing to be scared of. It's only going to legitimize what we all do and this sector further and in a more healthy way. The more light we can shine on the crypto sector, the more control we can put around it, the less reactionary fear you'll see as is coming out of the States right now.
Yeah, that's a perfect view. And also, like, we're seeing the same approach growing among our customers who want to go globally. And it's vital for me to see that their first stop, you know, when they start thinking about this journey, is to involve compliance teams to discuss, is it even possible and what would it mean? Because it's you know, this is the baseline for any expansion strategy to get this kind of guidance. So yeah, I understand it's big work. Thanks to our guests Kym and Tash for joining us on this week's show. We hope you really enjoyed it, and let's tune in next month for more of the same.